She brings the many charming corners of the South to life in her novels with an air of mystique, drama, romance, and so much more. Let's welcome back New York Times bestselling novelist Karen White, author of the new book, The House on Prytania. Great to have you back. Congratulations.
Thank you. It's good to be back.
So this is part of your Royal Street series. This is set in Louisiana.
In New Orleans, the Big Easy, which is sort of a sister city of Charleston, so my two favorite cities. I mean, of course, I had to write a series in each of them.
Yes, indeed. So tell us more about this storyline. Does it continue previous storylines?
It does. So for those of you who are familiar with the Trad Street series, the main character in the Royal Street series is a secondary character, Nola Trenham, who we last see in the Trad Street series at age 18, heading off to Tulane University, my alma mater. And then we pick up her story with the shop on Royal Street, the first in the series, and she's age 26. There's a lot of water under the bridge. She has moved to New Orleans to start anew and to really test her strength because she does have a problem that is exacerbated by being in the Big Easy, but she's managing well. And in the first book, she buys an old house to restore. This might sound familiar to many people in Charleston because there are a lot of old houses and great architecture. But unfortunately, her house comes with some previous residents who are unwilling and unhappy about moving on. And by past residents, I refer to the non-living kind.
Yes, I was going to say of the spirit world. When you set your stories in New Orleans, of course, New Orleans, though a sister city to Charleston, is incredibly unique and one that is very embracing of the occult. And so would you say that your books tend to have more of this mystique about it in terms of those in the afterlife as opposed to those stories that you tell about Charleston?
Absolutely. Again, with the exception of the Trad Street series, because the main character in those was, she did communicate with the dead. And so, yeah, so that theme was a little easier to explore in my new series because New Orleans, you're right, it reeks Gothic atmosphere. I mean, you think of Anne Rice and her books, she started the whole vampire thing. Not that I have any vampires in my book, but it's so easily set in New Orleans because you expect that kind of woo-woo stuff going on behind the windows and the walls of those old houses in New Orleans.
Yeah, absolutely. Are there any southern cities that you have not yet written about that maybe might be next on your list?
You know what? I've done Savannah, I've done Charleston, I've done New Orleans, I've done a lot. I've not done like Fairhope. Like Fairhope, Alabama, now I'm kind of turning my sights towards maybe less well-known southern cities. I mean, there's always Old Village, Mount Pleasant, right?
Sure.
There's so many wonderful towns that I've become familiar with from writing about Charleston for so many years. Yeah. Maybe I want to go back to Edisto, which is one of my favorite low country islands. Who knows?
And there's a haunting nature about it too, Edisto.
Sure. I think it's because the history, so many of the old houses still exist from, Revolutionary and Civil War and before Civil War times that it's like the people are still there.
Yes.
And it just has that haunting atmosphere to it.
It's true. And of course, the old oak trees and the Spanish moss and the whole 9 yards. You certainly seem to have the magic touch, Karen. I don't think I need to tell you that, but you've written more than 20 novels, a dozen of which have been New York Times bestsellers. So no doubt that this is going to join in that line. But I wanted to also ask you about who does your cover art, because each of these pictures is just so beautifully done and really evokes the spirit, I think, of the place in which your stories are set.
No pun intended, right? Evokes the spirit.
Yes.
I'm very, very lucky that the art department at Berkeley Penguin Random House, which is my publisher, they're amazing. I guess because these books are so specific about setting, and house. And, they always ask me for inspiration. And I actually sent them a picture of Anne Rice's house on Prytania to give them an idea.
Oh, how wonderful.
And they adjust it, to make sense of my book. You'll notice there's an hourglass in the front gate, because that is something very specific to the house in my book.
I can see that. I can see that. Well, it's just beautiful. Well, congratulations. And your fans are going to be able to come and see you right here in Charleston at the Library Society. So we want to make sure that we put that information out. Charleston Library Society, hosted by Buxton Books. This is going to be Thursday, May 18 from 6 to 7 p.m. You get to meet and hopefully sign some books there as well.
You won't be disappointed. I do a fun presentation that should make you laugh and also inform you a little bit about the book. So.
Always a joy. Thank you so much, Karen.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
We're back in 2 minutes.